So in our live stream today, we're going to practice a meditation and also go for a walk here in Taiwan, evening walk. Whenever you tune in, consider to hold the umbrella of mindfulness and detachment. So being aware and not holding on to anything. These live streams really meant to be a refuge for people who are suffering. At different moments in my own life, I can feel suffering so strongly. Sometimes it feels like there's no solution, there's no way out, there's no why to not suffer anymore. And I hope that in opening this space, we can all find an answer to suffering that's not based on why or how, but a kind of direct experience. And that direct experience can be your breathing. It's becoming extremely self-conscious, but not in a way of complicated thoughts or ideas about yourself or ideas about the world, but instead becoming very conscious, very aware of the body, very aware of the breathing, and very aware of the willingness to be with everything that's happening without trying to avoid it. And seeing that everything that's happening is right here, right now. Seeing that not through some kind of mental perspective or ego perspective, but through the breathing experience, through the body experience, through the experience of awareness. And this can be a great and powerful source point for meditation. So like I said, we'll do some meditation together, and then we'll go out into the streets to share the blessings and do the good deeds of walking for everyone with mindfulness and detachment. I've noticed and experienced over these past 2 months since I stopped being a monk, a real deep sense of purposelessness and a deep sense of losing direction and no longer being in any kind of context. So whereas before I was in this context of Buddhism and I was an integral part of the Buddhist community, now taking off the robe and taking off that identity, all of that falls away, and it can really be a powerful experience of having nothing, having nowhere to go, having nothing to do, not having any real push to do anything or be anyone. So at times, I think that can be very, very difficult. If there's nothing that's pushing me, if there's nothing that's inspiring me, if there's nothing that's inviting me to engage with life, well, it's not too far out of possibility to just sink into a lack of hope, or to sink into a lack of meaning. And I found during this time that meditation is really such a powerful tool for skewering that suffering, for dissolving that suffering, for transforming it into peace and awareness and wakefulness and openness to life. But I can just imagine how intensely difficult and nonstop it is for people who don't have a relationship with the Dharma or meditation, don't have much experience with inspiring people to be continuously going through this crisis of meaning without inspiration, without direction, without hope, and without any way to actually pierce those bubbles of suffering that appear in the body and the mind, and to cut through all of those coping mechanisms that we have for dealing with that suffering that don't actually make it better. Well, that's an important point. Having a livelihood and having a way to make money. Honestly, from where I'm sitting and from where I'm standing and where I'm being, I would say that the stronger benefit, the bigger benefit to having a job or having a way to make money is mental. Um, I think that without most people, without having a job, there would just be nothing to do. There'd be no reason to get out of bed. There'd be no reason to engage with life and the world. And people always say, well, you need to get a job because you need to have money to take care of yourself and establish yourself monetarily. But I think most of the benefit and most of why people need jobs is because it have a mindset that functions. It allows them to have a way of engagement with the world. So for me, getting a job to mainly make money is not it's not on my bulletin board, because interest is not in making money but having a worthwhile and meaningful impact on the world, and through that also myself. Supporting me online. People help me make donations through YouTube or whatever way, and that's very helpful. That's very much needed. And if my life and my practice and my sharing on like this is seen to be very beneficial, then please do consider to offer some support in some way. Uh, Being bald is just the card that I was dealt, so I have to ace that. Step forward and then step back. So when we practice meditation, we can just sit comfortably, sit in a nice way, straighten out our back, open up our shoulders, open up our chest, stomach area, maybe take a few deep breaths. And then connect with an awareness, a real wakefulness of not doing anything right now. So breathing and not doing anything right now, but there's no sense of depression, there's no sense of tiredness, there's no sense of looking for something to do. Just doing breathing. And concentrate on that breathing. Eyes open is okay. Eyes closed is okay. And so breathing in, you're really breathing a lot of awareness, a lot of presence, a lot of sense of coming home to life. Does anyone have any questions? So we got to find a way of being where, we're not necessarily Jesus or Jesus, whoever that is, and we don't, have some kind of special power. We're super enlightened, but find a way of being where we feel connected to a sense of enjoyment and a sense of interest in just being, or in our way of being, or our experience of being. And then there's a natural pull, there's a natural interest internally. So we're not pulled outside in the world, we're not influenced outside the world so much, but actually our attention and our awareness and our presence is pulled internally. And for example, I can feel that now just in sitting here and breathing. And this sense of pleasantness within the heart. And you can even do this as an exercise to put your fingertips or your hands on your chest area and kind of around the heart. Feeling the heart beating through the tips of the fingers. And then taking a big deep breath and relax. Relax the buttocks. Relax the shoulders. Relax the stomach. You relax and being aware, being open to life, that makes us feel afraid or makes us follow this religion of our own idea about ourselves. And instead just being naturally drawn into and invited into this awareness of the heart and this awareness of breathing. And it is it's a relief. The cycle that we come into is it's this constant cycle of wanting pleasure. So we don't have a culture that values peace in a commercial way or in a systematic way. We have we value pleasure. We want to physically pleasure ourselves or mentally pleasure ourselves, rather than to actually experience a sense of peace and to value that peace. And not having the ability to be at peace and be based and be at a high level of power is completely because this desire for, you just want to stimulate yourself like a. So you have to step back from the, because we can't just watch TikTok all the time. We can't just watch YouTube all the time. And if there is a suffering inside of us, do you want to use that suffering to just constantly being avoiding life and avoiding yourself more deeply? Leave a comment. Say hello. This is just like exploring reality without having all of this extra baggage to carry around with us. It's not easy. Life is not easy. But learning how to be at peace with myself now seems to be important, feels important. And to share that peace and to share that willingness to value peace with others is definitely important as well. Let's get packed up and let's get ready. I hope that our connection is strong here on YouTube, and we're going to step outside into the streets of Taiwan and go for a walk, go for an evening walk. How does that sound? Does that sound good for everyone? Well, death is as much a part of life as life is a part of death, so you don't have to worry too much. Okay. Time to go, and we will we'll find on our journey, we'll find a good place to sit and meditate and bring benefit to the world. All right. So this is a kind of a walking and releasing. Walking with mindfulness and detachment. So in walking with mindfulness, you can experience many different things, but not attaching to any particular thing, whether it's a thought or a color or a sight. You kind of walk through it. You walk through complicated ideas. You walk through thoughts about yourself or others. And in that walking, there's not really a destination. So it is a kind of walking meditation. It doesn't matter if people look at you funny. It doesn't matter if people have good or bad things to say. It doesn't matter if you're fitting into the mold or the expectation of a particular situation. You are just clearly practicing to be free, not to get stuck on any aspect of a word, a phrase, an experience, a situation. So in that way, you can exercise peace. Breathing in, breathing out. Sometimes we have to rely on someone else's mind. If we get into exclamation and question mark mode, we may have to detach from our own experience. We may have to detach from our own mind. Take refuge in someone else's mind, someone else's experience. Because there's not really any such thing as your mind or your experience. That's just the trick. The trick of I, the trick of self, the trick of holding on, the trick of attachment. So, whatever we are aware of, we can be aware of that and not attach to it. And if our concentration and our kindness can go into that sense and that feeling of suffering or difficulty, then actually that suffering or difficulty can be transformed into peaceful awareness, into a transformation of suffering. But we have to allow that to happen, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult. But it's okay for that to be difficult. Not a big problem. We just have to step out from our expectations. Because the expectations can be very big and the expectations can be very small. So we'll be able to back from bigger expectations, but our smaller moment by moment expectations actually haven't been. There's a kind of moment by moment expectation that we may fall into. We have to let go of that also. I have to use the restroom. So give me 1 sec. Right over the screen. Did I just steal from that coffee shop? Did I just go in there and steal something? No. So like I was saying, we have maybe bigger expectations that are more gross, and we have smaller expectations that are more subtle. So happening moment by moment. So letting go of all expectations. Letting go of all expectations of how we are supposed to feel, how we're supposed to be, through the meditation practice. So it actually becomes our practice to experience and face and breathe with these expectations that say we shouldn't feel this way or we don't want to feel this way. Because the attachment to feeling that certain way is holding up that way that you don't actually want to feel. And it makes a very small problem, easily solvable problem, a much bigger problem. And this is kind of happening constantly. Yeah, everything falling apart is very common in my experience. And everything coming back together is also very common in my experience. So I just have to appreciate how I'm doing. I'm appreciating when I'm not drowning in suffering, and slowly and gently how I try to deal with suffering when it does come up and how that works or go away. So for me, that means more meditation, as much as I can. And being more open to letting go of my idea about myself. That's probably one of the biggest things, being more open to practically letting go of the idea I have about myself and the idea that I have about my life. But sometimes it's very difficult. They have a song about that, right? Should I stay or should I go? And the answer is just now. So come home to now with that for a bit. Yeah, this is the suffering. I mean, the Buddha's definition of suffering is a little bit broad, specific. So all of this is suffering. Everything is suffering. No mental phenomena or material phenomena is going to be satisfactory. So the teaching or the practice is to cultivate not being attached. Right? And how you really have to, how I'm experiencing to go about not being attached is to drop the idea that I have about myself and step out. And step out in terms of meditation, or volunteering, or helping others, or doing a variety of things like that. Or just because the ego is the dog with the wagging tail that wants something special, that wants a big win. And that is exactly the same mechanism that's perpetuating the suffering. So you have to step out beyond the ego in this moment. How do you step out beyond the ego? Wow. You just do it. The past trauma, I think, is and a lot of people. So, how to not be attached to past trauma. See yourself as being as real as this stick. Entertain that feeling, entertain that notion that I, this self, this karmic body, this traumatized person, is as real as this stick. Now, is that true or not true? I don't need to say. And so in the same way, I don't need to be identified with my trauma. Trauma is just trauma. It doesn't belong to me. But what I find is that when I'm holed up in myself, I want to just do the things that I want to do. I want to just eat the food that I want to eat. It's this practice of selfishness that keeps me cycling in identification with my trauma. So, being generous immediately creates a door of not being identified with my trauma or with my past self. That's the clarity point for me. Yeah. The ego and the selfishness is the only one that has. Perfection is like alreadiness. Reality is already perfect because it already is the way that it is. So you should put down that idea of perfection and step out into generosity. You should step out into giving. Or you should, the same way to say it is you should step in to self-sacrifice. You should step in to listening to Dhamma talks You should step into listening to the breathing, or listening to the heart beating, or listening to your suffering instead of trying to change it. And really, it's a good point to go beyond words, to step back from the stepping back, to cut everything, to cut all involvements, to cut all identifications with anything, everything. And then you cut the cutting itself as well. They're still struggling. That's once again the reason we're suffering so much. The reason we're struggling so much is because we have this idea which is based in pleasure, right? So no matter how many times you go to eat, you're still hungry, and probably you're still depressed or still anxious or what have you. So that instant gratification idea, mindset, is keeping us locked into a life that doesn't have access to freedom. So it's not about you getting what you want. It's not about it being resolved in the way that you want it to be resolved. It's just finding the capacity to be free and developing a relationship with stepping into that capacity repeatedly. Okay? So that freedom becomes more and more accessible, but this freedom isn't based on feeling pleasure. This freedom isn't based on feeling pain. So it's based on openness. And that openness is kind of a quality of wisdom or insight into the way that things actually are, instead of the way that things appear to be. So the suffering, you have a body, you have a mind, there's going to be suffering. You have to slowly adjust to being with suffering instead of trying to avoid it. That's really the only way out. Willing to be with suffering instead of willing to avoid suffering. So it can be very confusing. Or there can be nothing that stands out. And then there's no confusion. Does selflessness become easier like a habit, or does it require the same amount of willpower each time? Well, I'd say it becomes, faith develops. So we develop faith that this works, like we develop faith that meditation works, or we develop faith that listening to Dhamma talks is a good idea. But it can take a lot of time. To experience or to realize timelessness, being just where you are, which isn't just peaceful and open, but also has this quality of insight, this quality of wisdom, this quality of freedom, this quality of generosity or compassion, to listen without discrimination, or to see without discrimination, or to not get stuck on things as they come up. So that's like the meditation method. That's how we practice meditation. Okay, we have some questions coming through, so I just want to answer people's questions. And please feel welcome to leave a like and just say hello to support the live stream. If someone beats me up for no reason, what will I do? I guess I'll get beat up. I'm not Superman, I don't have superpowers, so I know the ways of Kung Fu Buddha, not Kung Fu Panda. It's a good movie though, I think. Good animation. Right now I'm in Taiwan. Yeah, go for a walk. Go for a walk and breathe. Walk out of your suffering. Walk out of yourself. Walk out of your identity. And I don't think anyone's really to blame for their suffering. Society in America, the society in the West, does not really give us many actionable ways to help, to do good deeds, to transform suffering. Who says there has to be a meaning of life? But if I had to give it meaning, it would be to help. Oh, thank you, Zibus. Look at this thing. Very scared, very. Seems hurt. Hurt but not safe. Anybody want to time travel here and adopt this dog? I think it's a lost dog. Oh, it's this man's dog. That's good. So like a creature. Yeah, what I can say, what I can share from my heart is that it's been 10 years, more than 10 years, where I've been trying to take it seriously in the ways that I could to end suffering, to get out of suffering, to be free, be a superstar in meditation and whatever. Sometimes, especially after I've taken off the robes and moved away from monk life, sometimes I suffer so much. Like really, like I feel so depressed, feel anxious, feel alone, feel isolated. Human emotions that everybody feels. But I'm just saying, even after being a monk and meeting all these teachers and doing all these things, sometimes I can still feel that so strongly. And the difference that I imagine that may be there for people who don't have experience with meditation or, haven't gotten some good teachings on the path, that they maybe never really feel an out. And so for me right now, there's a sense that my whole life is right here, and that I don't need to go back to my hotel room to find my identity or to find my life. Or I don't need to go forward to a particular place to be where I'm supposed to be. You know, and where's that suffering? It's not here. So I think it is. It's ways that we live our lives. It's habit energies that we have. You know, sometimes our traumas or our background that lead us to being habituated towards a certain kind of suffering. And the meditation practice and the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, that helps us to get out of there. It helps us to end that suffering, to cut it. And the insight element is that when that suffering is cut, where is it? Where is that anxiety? Where is that depression? You know? It's why I keep quite a strong mind about my identity not being based in temporary mental states, even though at that time it does feel that way. But that my identity is mostly change, mostly impermanence, mostly no self. And yeah, definitely mostly suffering, dukkha. I'm in Taiwan, I'm not in Thailand. And if I missed your question, please do ask again. I'll try to answer it. Do I ever miss my hair? Where did it go? Yeah, it's a shame about the bit rate. There's nothing I can really do. So sorry to all those lost souls that depend on a certain bit rate for viewership, but I definitely understand. So many people in my country claim that they don't have real suffering, even though they are always complaining and everything and each other. It breaks my heart to see so much ignorance and no wisdom. Well, it's very shameful, right? I mean, it's kind of dangerous to feel suffering. It's kind of a point of major shame to suffering, to be in a state of depression, to be in a state of anxiety, to be in a state of mental turmoil. And why is that? It's because there's a lack of wisdom and compassion in the world. And so that means that we kind of build these ecosystems that are suffering, that push down our real experience. And it just makes everything worse. Having the capacity to face suffering and to listen to suffering and to wish for that suffering to end really depends on our own ability to detach, to be mindful and not attached. Not callous, but not to get into attachment. But also, don't try to think about those people, what they're doing wrong and things like that. It never brings benefit. You have to come home to yourself. And if you have a little bit of insight, you can make that insight a little bit bigger. If you have a little bit of compassion, you can make that compassion a little bit bigger. Instead of worrying about what the others are doing, if it's right or wrong, most of the time. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. He came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the cross, my debt repaid. From the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. He came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the cross, my debt repaid. From the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high. Whew. Thank you, bulky boy. And so the mindset I try to sustain and cultivate and share is a mind state where you're not really convinced by anything. You're open to everything, curious about many things, but what people say and what people think and what people do, it doesn't create a belief system in your mind. Instead, you just experience it like that. This person, so that when someone says something strange or good or bad, really it comes down to this person said that. And so when we're not getting attached to appearances so much, we have much more space and energy for knowing what really benefits us and what we're really trying to make use of. I don't know what it says. How's the bit rate? This stream is about freedom, and yes, open to interpretation. But the bit rate's pretty good here, so maybe I just stay here for a while. Do some interpretive dance or something. I'm just looking at the maps here to see where I'm going. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Keep going straight. The person who is running this live stream is a Buddhist. Whatever that means. It's something like midnight. What are you? I'm a Zorblock from planet Zeptune. I came to planet Earth to tell the people about a brand new product that we're selling on Zeptune that we're looking for some people to buy. It's kind of a facial cream. So I'm basically like an intergalactic salesperson. I was born on Zeptune in the year 10748. And basically, after coming from Zeptune and growing up there, I had to find a job, and I became a salesperson with this intergalactic company from Xeron 8, and they sent me here to Earth to sell this skin cream from Zeptune. Who would like to buy some skin cream from Zeptune? Send me a message, say hello, leave a like. And you can have Buddhism and meditation if you stay tuned into this live stream. No, I definitely I wouldn't call myself an atheist. And if anyone did call me an atheist, I'd say, whoa, hey, wait a minute, pal. So I'm not an atheist. That would probably be a good way to reach more people with the teachings of Buddha. To say that I'm an alien from Zeptune who's here to sell skin cream, which is in some ways true. Now here, look at this. Jesus. Here, look, Jesus is over here. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And the Buddhist meditation, let it be. The Buddhist meditation, let it be, is kind of when you're feeling and facing all that suffering and confusion, especially when you're talking to an alien like me from Zeptune 9, who's here to sell skin cream, the let it be isn't just kind of sink into your bed and melt into suffering, but kind of to get yourself up and go for a walk and let that suffering be there. Stop trying to avoid it, stop trying to get rid of it, really let it be there, okay? And, you know, skin cream is never going to help with your suffering. Suffering is something that you have to see through. That false story about that you'll be able to avoid discomfort or that pleasure will fulfill you and give you what you want in life. Because it won't. Actually, I just had it's pretty cool. How's the bit rate, everybody? Can we get a bit rate check? I feel like I show speed. How's the bit rate, everybody? I'm out of control. He says he was a monk. Now he says alien. Okay, so Just checking the stream here. Yeah, that's pretty good, huh? We can't buy our happiness. We can't buy our peacefulness. We can't buy our freedom. Pleasure is just like a distraction. It's a cheap trick. So when we feel suffering and we don't stop the compulsive energy of distraction, distracting ourselves from whatever is there at that moment that's making us feel suffering. Maybe it's not something that you can put into words. Maybe it's not something that you can describe, but there's something there, this ball of suffering that you're trying to avoid, trying to get away from. And so compulsively distracting, focusing on other things, always, bringing yourself away from this feeling, this experience that you don't want to experience. Eventually, it just leads you down a path of being back where you started and continuing to cycle in suffering more and more. So when you can, when you notice and are aware of the suffering that's there, and when you notice and are aware of that compulsion to distract, that compulsion to avoid, that compulsion to just keep thinking about things, stop. And meditate, or listen to a Dhamma talk, or go for a walk. So that even though you may suffer so much, there's always a way out of suffering. And does anybody know this? What is the way out of suffering? The way out of suffering is in. So stopping and going in. It's the way out of suffering. Boy. Just depends. Each monastery, each teacher, each group is a little bit different. There's not just one group that has a particular control over other groups. Put it, but to actualize that, to breathe with that, to establish yourself in that, or establish your non-self in that is important. How much does personal transformation depend on discipline? Depends on what you want to transform. But I think a lot of it is your intentionality, the consistency of your intentionality. Because enlightenment is something that happens naturally. Real meditation is something that happens naturally, not because you force yourself into it. Real insight or wisdom is something that happens naturally. But the force or control or the idea of discipline can sometimes be a barrier for that. Actually, it often is. Otherwise, you'd have a lot of enlightened people out there. I'm in Taiwan, on the streets. Because I don't think it's realistic to think that we can control someone else's intention. But we can certainly try to control someone else's discipline. So taking out control from that situation, I think, is very important. Sila is mindfulness. I think that's one of the best ways to describe virtue, is mindfulness. No, well, there's not really any most monasteries, because in the thousands and thousands and thousands of monasteries of the world, most are completely Asian. So they don't have a basis in Western positions or perspectives. So this is also a stopping of seeking stimulation, right? Because everyone's being advertised stimulation. You want to go to the party, you want to have the nice car, you want to be the cool one, you want to have a special experience, etc. But peace doesn't depend on that. Peace doesn't depend on stimulation. So it's taking an active role in experiencing that's not based primarily in stimulation, any kind of stimulation, or gain or loss. And that's why generosity is such a useful tool, and having opportunities to engage and help others is such a useful tool. So probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give to people here, try to find a job, or try to find where you can be generous, where you can help others, where you can serve. Where I'm going is not known to anyone. Most of all, it's not known to me.
Yes, no, mate.
So right speech, well, all of the rights kind of depend on mindfulness. So if you can be mindful, you won't do the wrong things. You won't do the inappropriate things. Because we're naturally not to be doing things that make us suffer more. There's no such thing as enlightenment. Firstly, enlightenment is not a thing. And secondly, it's a thing that it's not a thing that you cannot get. It's not a thing that cannot be possessed. That's the very notion of enlightenment. So experiencing non-possession, experiencing absence of identity, experiencing sights as sights without thinking about them. Detach, abandon. Abandon your ideas about semen retention. Most important thing is that you know how to be a good person. If you're masturbating every day, well, you should probably stop doing that. But you won't get magical superpowers just because you don't masturbate. You have to learn how to stop masturbating your mind. Detach from the detachment itself. Stop masturbating the masturbation itself. Widen out, as wide as the moon, filling the sky. So you have to do it like that. It's not about masturbating or not masturbating. Specifically, it's not about masturbating or not masturbating. You have to go beyond your idea of masturbating or not masturbating. You have to go beyond your idea of being someone or not being someone. You have to go beyond your idea of liking and disliking. To have an experience of liberation from just being moved around by likes and dislikes. And then you have a deep experience, naturally, of meditation. Because being with your heart, being with your breathing, being with your beingness, your just being alive, becomes very interesting. Now that everyone is so oversaturated with TikTok and YouTube and movies and media, it means we're not really interested in anything anymore. So we have to get back our interest, our curiosity. You have to start to be curious again. Stop thinking you know and understand everything and everyone. Ni hao.
Hello.
Oh.
係跳咧，
Hey, Tole.
跳
I'm from America.
啊！
Yeah. I'm from
Okay.
America.
好啦，大家好我。
Live stream.
係，知咧。OK。
Oh,
好，拜拜。
bye bye. There's not going to be any ideal path or any ideal solution to your problem. Ideally, there wouldn't be a problem. So that's the best solution, that there's not a problem. So what if there wasn't a problem anymore? Then what would you do? And that willingness for there not to be a problem, even in the face of a problem, is really where the meditation becomes accessible. You have to be open to that. That's detachment. You have to be open to experiencing your body and your mind and your breathing in a way that's not trying to fix anything or solve anything at all. But just being with in a very sincere and authentic way. And this, it's not easy or difficult. It's just to have a willingness to do that, to try that, and to be serious about it, to be sincere about it. You know, so that suffering doesn't become your identity, that depression doesn't become your controller. Instead, that suffering or that depression is just like an invitation to take a look, to examine, to be with, to face, to experience very directly. Not to be lost in that suffering. And to do that, you need a kick, you need an inspiration, you need an encouragement. What? Wow, this a big... So, dear friends, we can find a comfortable, stable position for our body. Laying down or sitting down. Become aware of breathing. Become aware of heart beating. Feel the space of the mind, the safety of the space of the mind. Use your breathing rhythm as a balancing point for your awareness. So you can apply your awareness to the whole, full spectrum of your body and your experience right now. And instead of getting lost or obstructed or stuck in one particular thought or one particular aspect of your experience, you can return to the balancing point of your breathing. So not seeking anything in particular, just being open to everything, staying with our breathing as a balancing point for our awareness to be whole. Meaning nothing we experience is good or bad. It just is. Eyes opened or closed. This sense of just awareness. Awareness breathing or breathing as awareness. Just being. Whenever the attention is tense, just give your attention to that and relax that tension. Practice to not look away, practice to not try to avoid that feeling of tension. If it needs your attention, if it's very loud, then listen to it. Give your wakefulness, give your wholeheartedness to listen to that suffering. Instead of letting it fester, letting it get out of control. Open your heart and open your life, open your body and mind to stop everything else besides listening to that suffering or that difficulty. Don't drift, don't sink, don't float. Just really be aware. Truly present with each moment of breathing. And each moment of the whole body and mind being here. Leaving the world behind, even if only for a moment. Very, very good. Okay, we'll finish our live stream here. Blessings, love and light. Be mindful, be good, do your best. And whatever it is that you get pulled into a state of belief, a state of being convinced, know how to see through that entirely. Know how to see through the dream of your life. You may be to get anger, you may to get frustrated, you may to be really having strange thoughts, complicated thoughts. You may be more greedy than you know or understand, always seeking for more than what you have. And all of this can bring about such a depth of suffering that we then identify with. I'm a bad person. I'm a suffering person. I'm an angry person or a greedy person or a delusional person. Dare to endure. Dare to detach. Dare to step back. From being anyone at all. Yes, these are these will technically be called real people. I'm guessing mostly Taiwanese people. Wow, that's intense. Well, as all things do, come to an end. So thank you, friends, for joining me on this this walk and meditation and Dharma sharing today from Taiwan. I wish you all great happiness and peace, and that as great as the suffering is that you may experience, may you experience just as great a relief and a freedom from. Sadhu, sadhu.